forget, for the back-to-back MVP. In the Warriors' Game 5 loss, Curry made only 8 of 21 shots and 5 of 15 from beyond the arc. Stephen A., how much pressure is on Curry to close out the Cavs tomorrow night?
You know, I would say there's a lot of pressure on Steph Curry in this regard. I don't think he's nearly 100%, obviously. And I told you I've been told that surgery is imminent once the season is over. I don't know. I haven't asked him. Don't particularly care once the season's over. Get your rest, get operated on, do what you got to do. Godspeed to you. But the thing about it is that that's what you're hearing. So it's bad enough he doesn't appear to be 100%. But now Bogut definitely won't be. And Draymond is on an extremely tight leash. Draymond might get suspended for Game 7 for passing gas. That's how tight it is for him. I mean, if a referee, he look at a referee wrong, he could find himself in trouble getting ejected, and as a result, it could cost, he could end up sitting out Game 7, which none of us obviously need. And so when you look at it from that perspective, the sooner you close them out, the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously the less of a risk you're taking. And in that regard, that is where the pressure for Steph Curry elevates. Not to mention the fact that he's got to play better. He's been very, very inconsistent throughout these NBA Finals. Didn't show up in Game 1, really. Game 2 showed up, but didn't have to do much because Draymond Green balled out. And Game 3, I thought he was comatose. Somebody gave him a sedative or something. I didn't even recognize him. He literally looked drugged. I mean, it was like, I don't know if it was he took a bottle of NyQuil or something. Something was wrong with him. He just wasn't there. And then he showed up in Game 4. And so he's been up and down, and he just needs to show up because clearly he could have done more in Game 5 to assist Klay Thompson, if not by scoring, making sure that Klay Thompson got the ball more. Had 18 points in the second quarter, 26 at halftime, 35 after three quarter. How the hell are you the point guard for the Golden State Warriors, who is the reigning league MVP, and you don't find a way to get Klay Thompson more than 2 shots in over 7 minutes in the fourth quarter of a tight game? To me, that's just as much on Steph Curry as it is on Steve Kerr. So when I look at it from that perspective, it's not just about his scoring or his shooting prowess. It's about him reminding us that he is one of the elite point guards in the game today, not just the world's greatest shooter. And it's his job, it's his responsibility to facilitate getting the ball to arguably the second best shooter in basketball, which happens to be his teammate Klay Thompson. I don't give a damn whether plays are called or not. Steph Curry is running the show. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter I've ever seen, but Steph Curry is also fully capable of being an elite point guard with elite and surreal ball handling skills and passing skills. Stop playing around with the damn ball and focus on getting the ball in Klay Thompson's hands when this man is hot, because when he is hot, he is just as lethal as Steph Curry. Steph Curry has an obligation to do that as well. All of that comes encompassed with his point guard responsibilities for the Golden State Warriors, particularly in Game 6.
Okay, before I answer this question, I do want to agree with your big disqualifier here. I don't know how hurt Steph Curry is. I have no idea. Does he need some sort of cleanup surgery on a knee or shoulder or even an elbow? I don't know. If he does, God bless. Maybe it's just difficult to put this question in perspective. But if we can forget for a moment about his injuries, because he's listed as playing tomorrow night, so I'm going to evaluate him as healthy. I just hope he does feel enormous pressure tomorrow night to validate his back-to-back MVPs by leading Golden State to a back-to-back championship. I hope that Steph Curry feels it extremely necessary to reinforce the first ever NBA unanimous MVP this year by finally winning the finals MVP that eluded him last year when, can you believe it, a sixth man who hadn't started a game all year and only started game 4, 5, and 6 of the finals won MVP. We just spoke of Andre Iguodala. That wasn't a good look for Steph Curry, obviously, last year. But my point about Steph Curry is, and I'm going to drive it home again right now, the one thing I've learned about him, he thrives on big game, big stage pressure. maybe at the highest level of any player playing today. And I'm going to repeat my point that I told you when we made our predictions for the finals. I gave Golden State an edge to win in 7 because I believe Steph Curry is a little mentally tougher than LeBron James. I boil it down just to that. And that is what I believe we will see tomorrow night in King James' house. I think you're going to see Steph Curry rise to the occasion. He obviously doesn't look the part of that assassin on the court, but he acts the part. He plays the part when the stakes are highest late in games. I think you might see another 38 tomorrow night like you saw in Game 4 when LeBron obviously shrank. I think this is his turn, Steph's turn. I think he will validate being the best player in the game tomorrow night.
Well, a couple of things to augment your point to some degree. Number one, it's rare that LeBron plays great back-to-back games in the postseason. I mean, in the NBA Finals specifically. You know, it's usually one down, one up, one down, one up, one down, one up, that kind of thing. That's number one. Number two, you know, he could have done a lot more, believe it or not, in Game 5. Initially, even though he was making shots, he wasn't looking to be aggressive, but Kyrie Irving was just on another level. So you got to take that into consideration and wonder what you're going to get from LeBron in Game 6. Number three, when you think about Steph Curry, he might be having some problems right now. It may very well be in large part due to the fact that think about what he didn't have to go through last year. You know how we made such a big deal of how he got passes because of guys he didn't have to go against? Mike Conley Jr. was hurt last year. Kyrie was hurt in the finals. Patrick Beverley wasn't the best. He wasn't around when they faced Houston in the Western Conference Finals, blah, blah, blah. Well, this year he got hurt, but he also had to go up against Lillard. You know, he had to go up against Westbrook, and then after that, he's had to go against Kyrie. He didn't have to face that last year, as we all know. So that may have something to do with why he's looked a little bit less than superhuman at times, not just his health. But in the end, he should be able to do some damage in Game 6. We'll see what happens. But what I'm watching out for with Steph Curry, I think that he's gotten a pass in this regard. We consistently call him the greatest shooter we've ever seen. I know I do, and I firmly believe that, and I do believe he's a superstar. But let us not forget that he's an elite point guard. He has ball handling skills. He has passing skills, and that means he has an obligation to be a point guard at times, regardless of how exceptionally he shoots the basketball. When you have a shooter on your squad like Klay Thompson, who is the reigning three-point shooting champion, who beat Steph Curry in that contest, mind you, who has scored 37 points in a quarter before, who has scored 27 and 28 points in a quarter before, who has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that when you talk about the top 3 shooters in all of basketball, he is definitely in the top 3. And this man is hot, like he was. As far as I'm concerned, you, Steph Curry, if you calling yourself a point guard, you have an obligation to get that man the basketball. You have to get that man the basketball. There is no excuse for Klay Thompson to have attempted 2 shots in the fourth quarter after the way he shot in the first 3. So when we talk about Steph Curry in Game 6, as great as he is, as great as I know him to be, and as much as everybody wants to love him because he's such a great, great guy, damn it, we're talking about a championship that's on the line here. And everything ain't all about Steph Curry's three-pointers. Klay has shown he's just as lethal when he's hot. And when he's that hot, you have an obligation as the point guard to find a way to give him the ball. Skip Bayless, I was sitting there at courtside during the finals, one of the first 2 games in the series, and I had the pleasure of sitting there talking with Gary Payton, the glove. I'm sure you know who that is. And Gary Payton in Miami at the time, you know, won the championship with Shaq and them on the downside of his career. Everybody talking about the great Pat Riley, who is great, drawing up plays, and we want to do this, we want to do that. Gary Payton said, hell with all that. We get Shaq the ball. Look for the damn ball, big fella. Look for the ball. You see what I'm saying? Because when you're the point guard, when you're the point guard, yes, you are an extension of the coach on the floor. But at the same time, sometimes you are literally the coach who just happens to be on the floor. You got to make that call. And Steph Curry has been in the league since 7 years. He's a two-time MVP. He is a champion. Steve Kerr has been fantastic, okay? But I am quite sure if Steph Curry sit there and look at Steve Kerr, look, coach, I feel you. We gonna get him the ball. That's just the way it's gonna be.
Yep.
I promise you, Steve Kerr would have been like, okay.
Yep.
That's what Steph Curry has to do.
I got you. You know what? I'm with you. He has gotten a pass in that regard. I have no problem, no issue with Steph's three-point shooting in this series because he's 42% from three,
42%.
leads the
Still
finals.
decent.
Leads the finals,
Still
both
decent.
teams. Okay,
Yeah.
but you are correct, sir. I have, in fact, it drives me a little crazy from night to night to watch how overly cute to the point of getting careless he is with the basketball. He tries passes that are nonchalant and misguided and just foolish. And I say, what are you doing? And by the way, his turnovers have gone up from last year's finals, and this is significant. 3.3 a game last year's finals, 4.4 through 5 this year. I don't know exactly what the number is, but that's a lot more turnovers this year. So he's not protecting the basketball. To your point, he is not handling the basketball, distributing the basketball, or quarterbacking their offense the way he should be at the highest level in these finals. I'm with you on that. He has been deficient as their quote-unquote point guard, and he is. He does have the ball in his hands the most. And you are right. When Clay scores, what was it, in the second quarter, 18 the other night? You better get him the basketball in the third quarter and hopefully into the fourth if you're still in the game. And you know what happened.
Well, the thing about it is that really bothered me, Skip, is that he wasn't just hot for the second quarter. He was hot, period. He was making shots all over the place. He came out at halftime and was making more shots. Remember, he had 26 at halftime. He had 9 in the third quarter.
Yep.
He had 35. It's like, wait a minute. You're right about Steph being cute with the basketball.
Yep.
But aside from all of that, how do you not prioritize getting him the ball when everybody else is struggling, including yourself when you shot 8 for 21 from the field? You have got to get Klay Thompson the damn basketball.
Yep, I agree.
That's not just Kerr's responsibility. That's Curry's responsibility.
Yep. Good point.
And speaking
when he's hot. When he's hot.
Of Clay, he's just 5-3 shy of tying Steph for a single postseason record of most threes made. He set that last season with 98. Cavs favored by 2. Our next guest went from catching balls from Jay Cutler now to Tom Brady. Marty B. Martellus Bennett will be with us. We'll talk about being a Patriot and much more when we come back here.